Hey, good evening, folks. Welcome to Mystics Outlook. We got Cardo W. Jr., Wilson Tarpe Jr., and the Washington Mystics back to back tonight out in California, second on the Valkyries. Once again, it's been tough for Washington dealing with this team this year. I think Washington was the first team the Valkyrie beat to kick off their inaugural season, and we're seeing where the Valkyries currently are and where Washington is. With tonight's win, the Valkyries ended Washington's postseason bid. They're officially eliminated from playoff contention, and we saw them do it in a very familiar way. Cardell, you've been lauding their defense for much of this season. Another clinic in that first half. Obviously, yeah, Washington did miss a couple shots, but then they give a lot of the onus to the Valkyries and the type of defense they played. Hellish defense. They gave up 22 points in the first 20 minutes of this game. Just 22 points. And two of those 22 came literally at the buzzer in the first half. Just to speak to the level of defense they were playing. But go ahead, Cardell, your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, Golden State gonna be a hell of a team to try to put out in the playoffs. One, they lead first and foremost with defense. They're gonna hang their head on that and let the chips fall where they may. But they're also a high volume 3-point shooting team. So if they lock you up and frustrating you, even if they're not hitting their threes, it'll kind of balance out. They're banking on holding you down, but also transition offense, hitting enough threes and getting to the free throw line with how they get down here in transition, where and off offensive rebounds where they get their easy points that way. And if they're holding you down, there's nothing you can do. The game honestly was over in the first quarter. They held the Mystics. They outscored the Mystics 19-8. They held the Mystics to 18% shooting from the field, 11% shooting from deep. I rebounded them 11-5. The entire Mystics roster that saw minutes in the first quarter, their plus minus was in the minus. No one was in the plus. Yet, on that flip side, plus minus for the Valkyries, everybody was in the plus. That set the tone right there. It didn't get much better in the second quarter as Valkyrie got hot and the Mystics stayed cold. The Valkyrie in the second quarter shot 53% from the field, 37% from deep, 11 of 11 from the free throw line. I rebounded them 17-10, 12-8 in assists. Only turned the ball over 4 times. Meanwhile, forced 7 Mystics turnovers, and they scored 11 points off those Mystics turnovers. Actually, 9 Mystics turnovers, and they scored 11 points off of those Mystics turnovers. The Valkyries bench points in the second quarter. In the first half. In the first half, also outscored the Mystics 17-2. Points in the paint, 18-6. That's what goes back to the transition, the turnovers and whatnot. Meanwhile, in the first half, the Mystics shot 28% from the field, 16% from deep, 4-6 from the free throw line. 7 turnovers to 8 assists. They almost had as many turnovers as they had assists. Game was over. They only had 22 points at 51-22 they had. The game was over. I don't need to keep going about the second half. But Valkyries is just basically don't have a epic lapse where they can come back and beat you. It was as simple as that. Veronica Burton, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. She should be getting some all WNBA consideration. She this season has taken a monster leap. Not just a little leap, a monster leap, where she's one of the top point guards in the league. And I mean all around, both ends. You got to deal with her on both ends. Kayla Charles was out the league last year. Found a way back, been productive, 16 points tonight, 7-12 from the field, 4 rebounds, did her thing. Salon, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 7 of 11, freshman, Pest. Got after Citron, and she can guard area defense. She's one of them versatile defenders. and I'm already gonna knock it out of the park as far as my X factor. Carla Liete, is that how you pronounce her name? I don't want to butcher her name. Liete, 19 points, 6 assists, 5 of 5 from the field, 1 of 1 from deep, 8 and 9 from the free throw line, off the bench. Do I really need to keep going, man? It was just an absolute clinic in every facet of the game, man. And it's one team that's really in playoff mode, and it's another team like we said last game. Hey, man, they getting plans ready for who they're gonna scout when the college season starts in a month or so. So you saw that as clear as day, man.
Yeah, I think the other thing, just to the degree of their defense, we know Washington lives in the paint. When they have things going, they get things going inside first, and then the damage inside usually loosens up a defense, gets some solid looks from three. They got nothing in the paint, and you take that away from Washington with a great defensive team like this. We saw in the first half, ball pressure, not having. You have to have dynamic folks with the ball dealing with great defenses. And shot makers. You went through a list of the type of different defenders that they have on their team, and we saw the many different ways that they could bother folks. I'm with you. They're going to be one hell of an out. Whoever draws them, even if you survive it, it's kind of like at what cost?
Right.
Like that's a lot to deal with, man. Because as I say, when teams are led by the defense, they don't get fazed by runs. If you go on the run, they don't really get fazed by it. It's kind of like do it again. How many times can you do that again? You might get an 8-2 run on a Valkyrie. That might be the only run you have for 4 quarters. In the grand scheme of things, that 8-2 run changed things. You talked about the turnovers. They were amazing defensively. And with Veronica Burton, yes, she needs to be an all-WNBA consideration. I'm all the way in with her with most improved. You talk about that leap. It's crazy. If you didn't watch them thoroughly this year, going up to 12 points doesn't seem like much, but like you said, on both ends of the floor, she's been the engine for this group. Like almost on a nightly basis, when they get in trouble, it's a Burton sighting. We see her take over in little moments here and there to steady the ship. And then they're fine again. But it's usually her. And just the physicality she plays with is a great way to set the tone for a defensive team, obviously. You're at the one and your one's that physical. Like, other teams have to deal with that all game long. Just kudos to them. This is a hell of a year as an expansion team. 20-18, 11-7 at home now. I'm going to try to pull up the standings and pass it back on to you. I know, they're solidly in the playoffs at this moment, but as an expansion team, that's a hell of a year. It has been a hell of a year. That's you came out the gate swinging.
Absolutely, man. And like I said, man, it's just this is hard now. I know they swept the Mystics this year, but each game prior, they were close games. First game of the season, they won by 2. Second game, Valkyries won by 1. Third game prior to this one, they won by 5. And today, it was just over in the first quarter. Yeah, like you just saw a team that's honestly, it looked like tonight the Mystics are ready for the season. And I'm gonna give props to Sug Sutton for showing up. She's the only one, and Lucy Olsen. Those are the two that look like they're the only ones that showed up ready to play. Sutton finished with 17 points, 3 assists. Can't knock her impact. 6 of 10 from the field. But even with that being said, the way that the Valkyries was clicking on all cylinders on both ends of the floor, even with Sug Sutton being that efficient offensively, she was still a minus 19. You know what I mean? Because the Valkyries was just so out of control offensively. Lucy Olsen, the rookie that no one likes to talk about much, 13 points. 2 rebounds. She wasn't the most efficient one. She basically one shot away from being 50%, 5 for 12. So she was pretty close. But she competed. She showed up. You know what I mean? And that's half the battle. Those were the only 2 that really showed up, ready to play. It was just, Yeah, it's alarming because a lot of these players on this roster, their place in the WNBA isn't cemented. If you know what I mean, like now you're you don't know what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen with the CBA. No one knows what's going to happen as far as your future with this team, especially after the draft, and whatever they may do in free agency. You just don't know what your future holds. You got to understand you playing for other teams, so you got to show up and produce as well. And with the way they finish in the season, why would any other team want a lot of these players? So let's be honest. Outside the rookies and Shakira, we know the usual suspects, but why would they want them? It's one thing to get beat, but this was a complete, honestly, no show, and it's alarming. Even though LaFine, you got knocked out of the playoff race, cool. Try to have some momentum going in the next season. We've seen what that can do. I think OKC the prior year wasn't that basically below 500 or 500 ball club, but they finished the year strong. And that momentum went right into what you saw last year. You know what I mean? I could be wrong. I know they didn't have a very strong season the season prior to the championship year. And part of that was because I think Shet missed that season, if I'm not mistaken. And got banged up in the early part. Then they just went on a run. And we all know how that ended. It's about building towards the future, building good habits. Big, you know what I'm saying? Even though you out of it, still build winning habits. So that standard is set when you go on the next season. So, it's disheartening, but yeah, what can you say, man? The Valkyries in full playoff mode, and they're gonna be very annoying. They kind of remind me of the W, and they're well coached. That's the other part we can't forget. They're extremely, extremely well coached. Their head coach came over from the Aces staff. She's one of their top, obviously one of their top assistants. So, it's not. She's very tough, defensive-minded coach, and she excels at the details, and you see that filter down to their team, man. Yeah, they're gonna be annoying like how Detroit was annoying for the Knicks.
Yeah,
that's leading with the defense, just physical, and we ain't going nowhere. Though. You got to knock us out. That's the only way you're gonna be this. That's what this team gonna be. So yeah, whoever draws this team, it's gonna be they're gonna be very annoying. Whoever's with it gets this team, we're Golden State 7. So that's the Aces. Woo. Yeah, right now that's the Aces. We don't know how we don't know how the season's gonna finish because it's very close, 2 through 5. All that could flip, but right now it's the Aces. And the Aces, yes, they finished the season strong, but they've had their issues. And you got an assistant coach that knows everything about you, what you're trying to run, what you're trying to do. Yeah, and that series, if the Aces get an upper hand on them, knock them out. Don't play with them. Get them up out of there. Because if you give them a life, it's going to be hell. And they're going to beat you down. It's going to be such a physical, grueling series that if you advance, you ain't going to have much left in the tank for the next opponent, whoever that may be. So, yeah, man, that's gonna be tough. That 3 and 6 matchup probably gonna be for the 2 and 7 matchup. So that you didn't be done with Atlanta or Indiana. And either way, those are tough matchups in the second round. So yeah, I mean, a hell of a statement to be an expansion team in your first year, and you up here above 500 playoffs, sweeping teams, and actually because of your defense and how tough-minded you are, how tough physically you are. No one should, if they've been paying attention, no one should look at it like, I mean, I know what the record says. I know who got the superstars and all that. Well, it's only like 5 games to separate them. Like it ain't that much. It ain't that much difference. They're going to be annoying. So let's say they do beat the Aces. I don't think people should be shocked if that happens. If the standings stay the way they are. I don't think people should be shocked that happens, man. They are annoying. And in the playoffs, a lot of things can happen. We've seen plenty of underdog teams get momentum and go on a run. Seen it time and time again. So, it should be fun, man. But hell of a statement win to close it out. And then obviously the Mystics, You got to go back to the drawing board. They got another game tomorrow against the Sparks. But with them being out the playoffs, they got a lot of work to do to try to build this roster to try to have a type of season where they're in the playoff mix going into next season.
And all I wanted to say, when you were mentioning a little bit earlier, talking about the Mystics and a part of their roster where we don't know what's going to happen to that group. Keep in mind, I know we mentioned what they have and how many picks they have in the first round of next year's draft. They have 6 total picks in next year's draft, period.
Okay.
So that's 3 1s, 2 2s, and a third. So, again, nothing's guaranteed but for a few folks on this roster, right? So that's potentially 6 more players. Like, you already went through this year's, honestly, is one of the youngest teams in the league, right? You found out 2 of your 4 draft picks this year could be lead horses, right? We know that. We saw them all-stars. That's great. You mentioned Lucy doesn't get enough. Kudos to her. It's hard to survive here in this league. The 2nd-round pick, 3rd-round pick, what have you. She's been here all year long, and we've seen her have different moments on different nights, and she's continually been part of this rotation. So credit to her for that. Georgia will find out more next year. Put Shakira in there after that. That's potentially six new players right there in the draft. We don't know what free agency is going to look like. It behooves those on this team to make sure that they close out this season strong. And the other thing is, with the expansion teams coming in, obviously, and then looking at whatever. However, if and when the CBA gets done, free agency is going to be crazy. We don't know what that movement's going to look like. So many teams can look drastically different. I definitely expect this Mystics roster to look so different next year again. Like, let's be honest, we saw them. They had what, 5 draft picks this year? 4 of them made the team.
Mm-hmm.
1 was injured. You stay with that. That's 6 next year. Say 5 out the 6, if not 6 out the 6 next year. Is that 4? That's 10 spots right there.
And then you add Shakira, she gonna be here unless they pull off something. They outside of her, no one cemented. Like I said, no one else is cemented. And then if the CBA is done and there's no lockout, I'm pretty sure salaries will rise, so that changes a lot too. So with the cap space, because they got a lot of rookies on their roster and veteran minimum type players. If they got financially, if they don't have a lot of old end contracts, you know what I mean, where they got a lot of cap space, yeah, you might have to overpay a little bit, but they can go get a key free agent, big time free agent. You know what I'm saying? To come, and then that changes everything. That speeds up the process or whatnot. So it's a lot of options that they have, man. And that's the other side of just going young, drafting and stuff like that. Young, it gives you a lot of cap space. It gives you a lot of room to go and try to attract a free agent. Because look, it's not like DC is a bad market. So I mean, come on, it's the nation's capital. It's a lot to do around here where you can be entertained and be comfortable as a professional athlete. So that's not it. What keeps a lot of people away is the culture of certain pros teams. You know what I mean? Like, are we going to win? Are you going to take care of us as players and stuff like that? Those are the questions that's always being thrown out there by players. So with that being said, but if you got the money, players gonna look at you. It's as simple as that, man. You know what I'm saying? Especially, the reports of $1 million contracts and stuff. So they can't get $1 million contract nowhere else. The Mystics are willing to offer them, hey, I'm coming. It's as simple as that. So that'll change everything, but we'll see what happens with the CBA. But yeah, that's why it's hard, man. It's like, you got to continue to hoop. You got to continue to hoop because you fight for professional lives, and as new blood keep coming in the league, hey man, some of these ladies on rosters today won't be there tomorrow. That's just how the game works in the W. Even with the 3 expansion teams.
And it happens quick. Like you mentioned College Charles earlier, like that's just a great example of somebody who's been through the ringer with what it's like being a W player and trying to stay on. She's been on several teams within this season before she got the rest of the season deal with the Valkyries. And kudos to her, big performance, and hopefully she's found a home in Golden State. We'll see what that looks like. But again, the Sparks tomorrow, and then they're home to take on Phoenix, and home away from home, Fever against the Fever visit Baltimore, and they end the season on the road against Liberty. So again, we'll see how they close things out. Just like the season started with some heavy hitters, you got some heavy hitters on the way out too. So we'll see what that looks like. A lot of playoff teams. But we appreciate you guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow. I think tomorrow night's game starts at 8, so we'll be talking to y'all a little bit earlier than we were tonight.
Play of the game, Veronica Burton.
So sorry. I felt like after the monologue earlier, I was like, I assumed it, but you're right.
Nah, you clear with them, but you already know what the X factor is. I said that early, so Veronica for sure.
All right, y'all.